Hello, and welcome to Lace and Cupcakes, a podcast for Lolitas by a Lolita. I am your host, Grace. Wow, guys. It's been a minute, as in a few years. So I'm back, and I have a podcast episode. And funny thing, I've been wanting to do an episode for a hot minute, and I have one in the works where I consumed nothing but Lolita fashion-related content for a week straight. And I have all my notes from it. I did it back in December. It is March now, and I just haven't gotten around to it. And the day that I finally am like, yes, I'm going to record a podcast, I get a sore throat. So sorry if my voice is a little funky compared to previous episodes. But yes, so today's episode, we are going to cover how to ensure you have a good time at a meetup. Now, this could be for your first ever meetup. This could be you returning to a group, all kinds of things. Maybe you're working on yourself. Maybe you've taken a break to work on yourself and you really want to put your best foot forward in the future. I know I've personally done a lot of growing and I'm still growing. And a lot of these, a lot of the don'ts, I have learned from personal experience, not necessarily through meetups, but yeah, nah. Anyway, so we're going to cover just trying to make it so as many people there who can like you will like you. Now, I will note there's always, granted, it might not be in the Lolita community, but you're going to come across people who just aren't a good personality combination. They're just not going to like you. They might be super similar to you, and that is the point where they're just like, nope, And you know what? That's fine. You can't win them all. Just put your best foot forward, and at the end of the day, know you did your best. And if nobody in the comm likes you, legitimately, oh well, you put your best foot forward, you can find another comm. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into my tips. So the first one is be polite. I have been to meetups and events where there's people who are pushy and rude and loud, and they chew with their mouth open and they talk with their mouth full, and they're grabbing things off of other people's plates, and that, granted, not just not necessarily Lolita events, but just gatherings in general. And I'm sorry, these people need to read an etiquette book or listen. And if you need good sources for etiquette and to learn from, I can't recommend the podcast Awesome Etiquette enough, at least if you live in the USA. It's based off of Emily Post, and it's run by her descendants. And Emily Post was a big person in the 1920s, not the 2020s, in regards to creating a manual about etiquette for the every person. And yeah, I think it's honestly a really cool thing. And the fact that her descendants are keeping that legacy going, and they have a whole institute related to it and everything, it's really awesome. Now, I know Isabella Beaton was a person in the I think the UK or England. I can't remember off the top of my head. I am showing my unculturedness right now. I have digital copies of so many of her ebooks. In fact, one of my tatted lace pieces of decor is one of her tatted lace patterns from her book of needlework. Although, I'm getting off on a tangent, but yes, I know that wasn't necessarily actually written by her. It was probably post-mortem by other people. But yeah, so studying etiquette for wherever you are or wherever the meetup's going to be, and just kind of getting a general idea of how to best behave yourself and be respectful to the people that are around you is an excellent place to start. Just getting some basic manners, especially if it's going to be a meetup that's a tea party or over a meal. Table manners, studying dining etiquette. It's excellent. And yeah. Number 2, I have done this, and please just don't trauma dump. Don't trauma dump. I especially understand if you're like just starting to work through things and you're like, whoa, and you're trying to relate to people and find this common ground. But when you are, especially when it's your first time going to meet up with a group of new people, this is not the time to bare your deepest secrets. And I don't care if it's something you talk about publicly on your YouTube channel or whatever. I still consider things that people can inflict pain on you with to be a secret, whether or not it's publicly available or not. That should be something you kind of hold close to your heart and talk about with a therapist, maybe with your absolute closest friends. But remember, your friends aren't your therapists, and neither are people at a meetup. In fact, some of the people that I respect the absolute most are people that when I was starting to go through, and trauma dump a bit and like working through it, they pretty much stopped me in my tracks and rediverted the conversation somewhere else. And I really respect them for it. Heather, you are a real one. She's a friend at the Makerspace that I go to, and I use the laser engravers, 3D printers, and all that stuff. That's a complete digression, and I could talk about that on another podcast episode. But yeah, just don't trauma dump, sharing some little details after you've really gotten to know people, but maybe not necessarily in a group environment and all that. Like, it's just not, I'm all for being open, but there's a little too open, if you know what I mean. And I really do not advocate for putting yourself in a bad position. So my third point is, unless everybody else starts discussing it, avoid discussing politics. Many people go to these meetups for a break from the world. They just want to feel pretty. They want to look at cute things. They want to be cute. They want to talk about cute things. They want an escape. So if this is your first time at a particular meetup, this is not the time to be like the social justice warrior. And you know what? If it's your passion, by all means go for it. But definitely like scale it back a little bit on the intensity if it's something you're truly passionate about, and try to just focus on the fashion until you feel out the group. Because if that's not their whole vibe, you might drive some of them away, even if they agree with you. Because, like I said, some people go to these events for a break. And also, like, this is something that I try to keep in mind for myself, and I probably err too much on the side of caution with it, but if you have a side hustle, try not to talk about it too terribly much. I know a lot of people are very passionate about their side hustles, whether it's like their art, whether it's their like fiber work, whether it's their, like, for me, my lace making, gracemakeslace.com, total self plug promotion right here. But, or even if you love an MLM, I'm sorry if you do. I'm getting a little too up in arms about that, but anyway. But yeah, so, and it's not even necessarily I'm telling you to scale back on your passion. Like, I love making lace. I love creating lace. I love learning about the history of lace. I could talk for hours about it, one-on-one or in a small group. Don't put me in front of people. I get so nervous. I deleted all the footage from the Lavender Festival when I did a presentation because it was so bad. I got so nervous. But anyway, I digress. You just don't want to come off as salesy and pushy and like, hey, buy from me, buy from me, buy from me. No, that's just not a good look to have. And yes, so I personally try to err a little extra on the side of caution, and I'm sure I could probably have some more sales than I do, but it is what it is. And my final point, let me pause for a second. All right, so that sore throat was coming through. I needed to take a sip of slushy. So for my final point, and I realized just now that I organized this all as a compliment sandwich in the terms of like positive, negative, 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 positive. And this is going to be the lengthiest part. Do come prepared with conversational ideas to launch off of and here's like a list of some helpful ideas. Because everybody has like a diverse array of interests and it's nice. But, and you don't want to be like the know-it-all that's just talking in depth, specifically hyperfixated on one thing. So having a general range of things that you are open to talking about, it's awesome. So first off, my first suggestion is the most recent fashion show by an EGL brand. I know Alice and the Pirates and Baby the Stars Shine Bright oftentimes has them. I think Angelic Pretty might have them still. And like the local, the various conventions, I know there's usually fashion show at Katsucon, and a lot of this stuff gets uploaded online. So like, maybe share, and also like if you're concerned that others might not necessarily have seen it, feel free to share it with the group and then ask if anyone else has seen it. And you guys can discuss like the different looks and the different designs from there. Another thing to really talk about is dream dresses. I know things have gotten a little bit muddled since the rise of Taobao, but knowing the name of a print, knowing a brand, you might be able to introduce people to new brands. Grace makes lace makes great Lolita fashion accessories. Ho ho ho. But it would be, it's a nice way to share things with other people, show them new things, and you can find out new things from them. And like, if you have like a folder with pictures bookmarked, like saved in your phone, chef's kiss, it's perfect. Or if you have like a blog, you could have like a post of things so that way you can access them easily and share them. As in fact, I think I actually have a page shared to my professional blog of my dream dresses. Anyway, next we have trends that you're thinking of incorporating into your own look. So this is pivoting off of dream dresses and the fashion show, but also things like ruffle chat and closet of frills and all that. Just finding out what the new trends are, and there's a bonus point if it's from a different substyle than you normally wear. Because not only, like, for instance, if you wear sweet and you're like, ooh, I love that element that's in Gothic Lolita, I want to try incorporating that somehow into, like, I don't know, veils? Yeah, veils aren't used a ton in sweet, for instance, and veils are heavily used in Gothic. And if you were like, I would love to incorporate veils into, or the halo into a sweet coordinate, that can get a conversation rolling between at least all the sweet and the Gothic Lolitas, and classics also. I'm a classic Lolita technically that veers on, like, that edges towards sweet, like I'm a classic sweet kind of. That's neither here nor there, but even the classic Lolitas would have some insight. So it invites more people into the discussion than like, oh, I just want to like get like a little piece of candy to wear on my sweet headdress, or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't invite as many people in. So paying attention to the trends, thinking about what could be fun, and even if you don't actually plan to utilize something in a coordinate, like throwing the idea out of like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if? And then others can indulge in the idea as well, which would be super cool. Next, I have a discussion on different teas and coffees. I get not everybody likes tea and not everybody likes coffee. I am a tea fanatic and coffee just tastes like dirt to me. Nothing against coffee drinkers, and I have had palatable coffee, but it was made by like a hardcore coffee aficionado, and she knew my palate in general. And I have never had as good of a coffee since. But that's neither here nor there. And even then, it wasn't something I loved. So being open to different things and like being open to discussing all kind, and like even hot chocolates too, and discussing the different flavors and just being generally knowledgeable on like things like blend and favorite places to shop for these ingredients, how you like to prepare them, that sort of thing. It would lend itself well to a conversation, but there is just that caveat that some people might just outright hate coffee and not be able to contribute to that conversation. Some people might outright hate tea. Some people might outright hate hot cocoa. And that's okay. Just at that point, like, okay, let's try to make this conversation real short and sweet and move on to something else. And these people that we're talking about how much they like it, when that other person isn't here, this will be a good conversation to go back into at another date. So yeah, just having like a whole bunch of knowledge about how you like things prepared. And then going on from there, we have EGL related hobbies. Obviously, teas and coffees, and that type of thing, but then also things like fiber art, letter writing, calligraphy, studying Japanese, Tamagotchi, cooking, baking, etc. My only caveat is don't go heavy into anime. While a lot of Lolitas do love anime, it is definitely like a little bit of a weird line. Some people, like myself, we're weebs. We love all kinds of anime. We love all kinds of manga. I've been reading this one. I think it's called If You're Going to Wear the Clothes, Do It This Way. And it's about this 27-year-old man who has a little sister that's going to college. They're living together. And he ends up going to a family reunion, or not family, elementary school reunion, and he's the worst dressed one there. But when he was on his way out, his sister was like, "Are you gonna wear that? Like that's not very good. That's not a very good outfit." And he's like, "Oh, it's fine. It's just a hoodie and jeans." And he ends up getting self-conscious about fashion and all that stuff. And things that are tangentially related, such as that, might be okay to bring up at a meetup. Things like Ghibli are probably okay. Some Disney things, do be careful if you're extremely into Disney. Definitely tone it back because a lot of people also don't like Disney for a whole slew of reasons. But just kind of don't make media the focus of things unless it's like a book club meeting or something like that, because it's just one of those things that can be a little bit derisive, because if someone loves shonen type anime and manga, I mean, that's great. I love that genre, but it's not really Lolita adjacent. Like, there might be a little few things here and there. And in fact, Lovely Lore has a great couple of videos actually on Lolita and media. So I would actually recommend checking out her stuff if you want a jumping off point for it, but again, go easy on the media, but like other things like reading in general, cooking, baking, like all the other things I listed off are great conversation points, because if you can be a little bit of an expert on them and have like just a generalized conversation about them, maybe show some pictures of stuff you've made, maybe share a recipe that you tried and love, things like, along with like photos of the food, or even the bringing the dish yourself, things like that are great because it can allow people to kind of commune in it a little more. Whereas like with anime and manga, people outside of the whole like they might not be into it, they won't be able to participate, much in the same way I couldn't participate in a conversation on coffee. It's just, some things just aren't a person's cup of tea. And that's the episode. You have been listening to Lace and Cupcakes, and I am Grace. You can find me at gracemakeslace.com and on most social platforms as grace_makes_lace. I am not on Twitter /X, but I am on many other platforms. While this podcast no longer has a set schedule, I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.